All right, Year 5, this week we are flashing back to 2 weeks ago when we started making radial patterns without using a template. This week we're going to do something similar, except we're going to make much smaller ones, and we're going to make a few of them. You're going to need quite a few materials today. You're going to need to grab all your things for collage, so coloured paper if you've got it, and if you don't, I'm going to show you how to make some. Your drawing materials, scissors, glue, and paper. And that's really it, actually. Not as much as I thought. And you're also going to need some things to trace to make some circles. All right, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. I'm going to demonstrate for you, and then you're going to have a go. All right, good luck. All right, Year 5, we're going to start with coloured paper. Here's the thing with coloured paper. If you don't have any at home, you can use some really simple things to just make your own. So I'm literally just going to use a couple of different shades of green texture, and I'm going to colour the whole page. When I do things like this, I like to use lots of different shades so that it makes my coloured paper a little bit interesting. But you can also just do some sections that are big blocks of the same colour as well to mix in with your more extravagant coloured paper. When you're doing something like this, you definitely need to do what I've done here and put a piece of paper underneath so that you can go right to the edge. My mum used to always get very cross at me when I didn't used to do this on our dining table. So it's really important that we look after our mums and don't stress them out by putting a piece of paper down to protect your table. This doesn't take long, as you can see, and I've already got a couple of different sections that are big block sections like I talked about that I can use for my coloured paper. And then for the rest of the page, I'm going to do a couple of mix and match sections. So I'm just going to do some sections like this. In my dark green, this text is running out, which is a shame. It's probably because it's my favorite color, I reckon. And then I'm also going to mix, oh, this one's running out too. I've used them too much. Mix some of these in. Might have to get my other textures out. I think I will. So you can see that just by including a whole bunch of different shades in there, it just becomes a little bit more interesting. You don't have to do it this way if you want. You can just use block color, or like I said, if you're lucky and you've got colored paper at home, you can skip this step. But I'm going to use a little bit of both today. I'm going to use some of my homemade colored paper and some of my bought colored paper. All right, I'm just going to put a little bit of another texture in there because the rest of them are running out. This one's running out too. Oh, I'm not having much luck today with these, it seems. All right, I'm definitely not going to use this whole thing today, but when I'm doing this, I just like to do the whole piece of paper anyway so that I can save it for my scrap paper box and I can use it for something else. As you saw, I've got scraps that I've used for other things that I'm going to use today as well. And it's good just to hold on to these, one, because then they don't get wasted, and two, because you've put effort into something and you may want to use it again in the future. All right, I have my homemade coloured paper now. The next step of this task today is that we are going to make 10 different sized circles. So I've collected a few things from around my house, glue stick, a little ramekin, and my tea strainer, and I'm going to use these to trace around and make perfect circles. If you are doing this, you need to check with mum and dad before you are tracing things and taking things out of the cupboard, please. I'm going to make 10, and like I said, I'm going to use some of my coloured paper that I've made and some store-bought one. I'm also going to use texture to trace around these. However, that is only because it's going to be easier for you to see on the video than grey lead will be. Normally I would not do it with texture, particularly if you're using things that are from the kitchen. Just use a grey lead, please. I'm just doing this to show you, but this is not what I like to do. So like I said, I'm going to make 10 circles. And you'll see in a second why you shouldn't use texture to trace around things. So grey lead, please. So I've got one little circle. I'm going to do one over here. And I'm always going to try and use the edge as much as I can of my page so that I can save a lot for another activity. If you do use something from the kitchen and you get it dirty, make sure you wash it straight away once you're done. I'm going to do that with this stuff because I don't want my tea to taste like Texter. All right, I've got 4 from this page. I'm going to do one more in the littlest size. And I'm going to do you here. So I'm trying to get lots of different colors for these because we are going to turn these basically into leaves of a tree. So I've got 7 on there and I'm going to add in some of this one. I want a combination of large and small ones. I think the glue stick is probably a little bit too small for my liking, but I couldn't find anything else. 9. One of these. I don't think I've picked a very good texture for this either. It's a bit smudgy, this one. And glue stick size. If you've got paper circles at home already, you're welcome to use them, and you're laughing, but I would like you to have a go at cutting some out. It's how we get better at cutting. It's not an easy skill sometimes, particularly cutting circles can be very challenging. All right. Oh no! I've got all the circles that I want to use now. I think I've done a few more than 10, but that's okay. I'm going to use them all, I think. One more for good luck, because I didn't like that one I mucked up. All right, so I've got all my different circles now. And then you guessed it, the next job is to cut them out. So I'm not going to make you watch that. I'm going to do it and then cut. Okay, so I've cut out all of my circles, and then as you can see here, the next step is to start adding some radial patterns to your circles. So all of the ones I've done so far are just something simple that starts in the middle and goes out. The most complicated one is probably this one, which is like the spiderweb shape. For the most part, I've repeated the same thing, and they're quite simple. So for something a little bit more interesting, I'm actually going to start with this one on the outside, which is unusual, and I'm doing just like 4 arches like that, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm doing the exact same thing but overlapping, and it kind of turns out to be like a bit starry. This is just one idea of things you can do. Or you can do spirals, you can keep it really simple, you can do everyone different, you can do them all the same, up to you. And like we said, I think I've done quite a few more than 10, but I think 10 will be fine for you guys. You can always do more if you want to as well. I really like just the repeating circles. I think that's really interesting, but you can also just do something that doesn't necessarily usually match with a circle, like repeating squares, and you can even do something like lots of dots that spiral around. I'm going to do this last one. We are then going to turn these into a tree. So these little individual radial patterns are going to end up being basically the leaves for our tree. So you are going to need quite a few. I think 10 should be fine for doing it on A4, but like I said, you can always do more if you want to. I like to do this sort of thing on my paper in black, but you can use grey lead, you can use whatever colour you want. Black is just my preference. So I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and one more spiral over here, 14. Next thing is you need an A4 piece of paper, and you're going to draw a trunk of a tree and some branches. I'm going to keep this really simple for mine, and I'm just going to do a line drawing. So I'm going to start with just lines. So I'm going to do my branches. Kind of looks a bit like a fire, kind of. And that's all I'm going to leave my tree as, I think. Really simple. And then these become my leaves. So I'm going to arrange them in a way that I like and find interesting. I can overlap them and put them on top of each other. And once I'm happy with where they're all positioned, I'm going to glue them down. And it's that simple. So I'm going to keep going and arranging, and then I'll glue them down. And once I'm done, I'll come back and show you. Okay, so here is my finished tree. Turns out in the end that I actually liked the smaller ones better, which I did not expect. But this is the start of my tree. I'm thinking about doing the branches brown as well. I'm actually even thinking about doing a few more little ones to add in here, just to fill up the page a little bit more. But this is what you're working towards, making your own radial pattern tree. All right, have fun making this tree today. Year 5. I really enjoy doing things like this that I get to really focus on and just relax and just enjoy being creative. The thing with this is it doesn't have to be perfect, and it's never going to be. So you just need to have fun, enjoy it, and have a go. All right, I will talk to you soon. Good luck with your tree. I can't wait to see what you've made.